and so much more. I am the end of our world and the beginning of mine.
One of the most enigmatic yet curious factions of the League of Legends mythos has always been the Void, simultaneously a region with an insidious presence over the entirety of Runeterra while also being ambiguous in nature, almost like if it's both everything and nothing at the same time. But if there's one thing that is certain with this region, it's that it always finds ways to surprise the player base with its champions. In every lore episode I made so far, there's a distinctive theme and motif you can derive from its inhabitants, represented by their gameplay. It's a very clear depiction of their way of life and their beliefs. In the Freljord, for example, there's a dominant narrative that only the strong survive, with most of its roster learning how to withstand incredible amounts of adversity or taking that adversity and using it as strength. It paints a very clear picture of the harsh landscape the natives of Freljord have to endure just to stay alive. Most of the regions I've talked about so far, if not all of them, had one thing in common though. They were places, areas of the continent with a fixed geographical location, or I guess in Vandal City's case, a physical location in the Fey realm, albeit still a location. But this one will be the first faction to not have a corporeal domain. I know it's been a long time since the last champion lore video, but it's with great pleasure that I bring you our next episode featuring the dubious yet destructive Void and its weapons of mass destruction. Tales and recounts of the Void are few and far between, as so little is known about it despite being one of the oldest regions of Runeterra, often referred to as the Realm of Nothingness. It's a place that, while shrouded in mystery, makes one thing very clear. Anything and everything that comes in contact with it comes out all the worse from it, if they even emerge at all. It's a place that very well could be the League of Legends equivalent of Hell. If the Shadow Isles are a place where lost souls are doomed to wander aimlessly forever, the Void is a place where souls are completely destroyed, dismantled, and wasted. The few times its presence was made known to the mortal realm could only be described as Armageddon. One of the most noteworthy incidents was the total annihilation, or should I say consumption, of the city of Acathia. During its conflict with the Shuriman Empire, a massive portal was ripped open, sending contents of the Void and its twisted energy tearing through the land. Described as arcing loops of purple energy ripping into the sky and lashing down like crashing waves, a nightmarish light, sickly blue and ugly purple, smothering the world, pressing down from above and blooming up from somewhere far below. Despite ultimately winning against the Acathian revolt, the Shurimans were ensnared and dragged into the Void where their bodies were dissolved and deconstructed. From then on, the Acathian territory was transformed into a purplish hellscape where void-born creatures roamed, attacking any lifeform encountered. It took several years and no shortage of casualties from both the ascended god warriors to mortal men and women for the infectious corruption to finally be sealed away. But all that was left of Acathia afterwards was, well, nothing. Only a massive rupture within the land itself, serving as a harrowing reminder of what even a small drop in the bucket, rather a drop in the ocean of the Void's destructive power could do. The Void's influence has thus far only really exerted meaningful damage across the lands of Shurima and Freljord, but telltale signs foreshadow that it's far from satisfied with just those two, and its impact on the world spans far beyond that, being directly or indirectly involved with much of Runeterra's overarching mythos, one of which being its responsibility in ushering the founding of the Darkin race. Traumatic memories of their battles would torment those who came out alive, and would ultimately accelerate the fall of many ascended warriors into Darkin. So in a way, the Void War was the causality behind the creation of Aatrox, Rost, Vars, and Naafiri. In the Freljord, so much is hinted to us regarding the Watchers of the Void imprisoned under the Howling Abyss, and with the seals weakening, repeat incidents like the Void War in Acathia are not a matter of if, but when. The only question is, where will it happen next? Based on what's known about Runeterra, there are void rifts all throughout the land. Nami having fought multiple Voidborn during a search for an abyssal pearl near a void rift submerged underwater in the Mirai territory, many of Targon's inhabitants like Diana, Pantheon, Aurelion Sol having engaged in combat with creatures of the void as well. Ryze's encounter with a Voidborn while attempting to gather the world runes, these void rifts, portals deep underground that have laid dormant for centuries just waiting to be sprung open. It really lays the groundwork for this ever-present threat that will destroy everything if given the chance. Though most of its members are grotesque, abhorrent monsters, the humans that come in contact with it are also corrupted in appearance, either willingly like Malzahar or against their own will like Kai'Sa and Kassadin. Whether man or monster, one glimpse of them and you'll know exactly what region they come from. No matter what the faction, their allegiances, or their values, everyone sees the Void as a threat that must be stopped, while the Void sees all of them as just another thing to consume and destroy. What I find most compelling about the Void is that while the ideals and themes of Demacia, Noxus, Ionia, Freljord, Bilgewater, and such play a subtle role in its champions, those from the Void or aligned with the Void take a very literal approach to their gameplay, emulating the primordial, raw, and primitive nature of the Void itself that contrasts from the nuanced and comparatively sophisticated principles of human civilizations. The honor and forthright perspective of Demacia can be interpreted in a lot of ways, just like the ambitions of Noxus, the resilience of Freljord, but there's only one way to illustrate the Void's rather simple yet foreboding direction effective of casting all in its wake into oblivion, destruction. Representatives of the Void are among the most destructive champions League has ever procured, with all of them, regardless of class, role, or time period they remain, focused on one singular goal: attack, attack, attack. These champions care about nothing other than to completely destroy the entire enemy team or die trying. And if you think I'm embellishing this for dramatic effect, think again. Presently, there are 9 champions of the Void, and of the 38 active abilities across all of them, 33 of them are damaging ones. bel'veth's Q, W, E, and Ultimate all deal damage. cho'gath's Q, W, E, and Ultimate deal damage. kha'zix's Q and W, kha'zix's Q, W, E, and Ultimate, kha'zix's Q, W, and E, khogma's Q, E, Ultimate, and technically W since it directly ties with its auto attacks, Malzahar's Q, W, E, and Ultimate, both of Rek'Sai's Qs, her W, her unburrowed E, and Ultimate, and finally vel'koz's Q, W, E, and Ultimate. Replicating the single-minded desire to destroy everything, these champions have little, if any, team-supportive utility or primarily defensive utility for that matter. The only ones that do just so happen to be the only human members, with Kai'Sa's ultimate shield, Kassadin's passive and Q shield, and Malzahar's passive. Those originating from the Void itself don't have a single iota of utility in their kit that isn't intended to help them kill their opponent. While one can make the case that cho'gath's Rupture and Feral Scream are excellent teamfight abilities, they're also incredibly strong damage dealers that serve to help him burst down his target, which brings me to another aspect that further accentuates their penchant for destruction. Most Void champions have some semblance of either true damage or percent health damage, the two most powerful forms of DPS in the game and also the hardest to itemize against due to both growing proportionally in strength to the user's own items and the opponent's as well. As the de facto matriarch of the Void, bel'veth possesses among the highest damage ceilings of any champion in the game through her practically infinite attack speed cap, her immense on-hit DPS potential, and chief of all, her beast of an ultimate. Endless Banquet makes every other basic attack deal bonus true damage that stacks infinitely so long as she's hitting the same enemy, and if she consumes a Void Coil, she flourishes with an explosion of percent missing health true damage, being one of the few champions in the entire game to have damage that is impossible to itemize or defend against. Some other examples include cho'gath, whose vorpal spikes inflict damage equal to a portion of his target's maximum health that grows stronger with every stack of his ultimate. Incidentally, his feast deals a monstrous amount of true damage to a target enemy. Khogma also deals both. Bioarcane Barrage can do a ton of percent health damage with every auto attack, while his passive, albeit very bad at doing so, can deal a chunk of true damage on explosion as well. Rek'Sai, Fury Spike can deal true damage to enemies while she's at max Fury, and Void Rush deals a staggering amount of missing health damage to her marked enemy. Kha'zix is the only exception to this rule. While he was spawned from the Void just like his peers, he possesses neither, though that's not to say he can't deal his fair share of damage, cause no, he most certainly can. Kassadin's affiliated with the Void in light of his backstory with Kai'Sa, but he never came in direct contact with the dimension and actively spends the rest of his days fighting against it. His daughter, on the other hand, spent most of her days surviving in the endless nothingness, and with a symbiotic relationship with her Void carapace, the second skin passive enables her to inflict heavy missing health damage against targets when detonating plasma. Meanwhile, Malzahar, who willingly entered the Void, can inflict percent health damage with Nether Grasp. So those who come in direct contact with the Void dimension, even if they weren't from there originally, are granted the same destructive capabilities. What's more is that their damage, on top of being extremely high, is very straightforward damage that can be applied straightforwardly. For comparison, a champion like Ezreal deals a ton of damage, but under the condition of being skill shots, or Draven can deal a lot of damage but you have to catch access. Kai'Sa and Khogma, on the other hand, can just deal damage. Technically, the former's condition is to stack plasma while the latter can only attack with W, but their damage is applied directly. The other artillery mages like Xerath and Ziggs mostly specialize in attrition, continuously chucking projectiles at the opponent until they eventually die or are forced to recall. And while vel'koz can also play this way, he has an all-in combo with Lifeform Disintegration Ray, many point-and-click abilities or easy-to-land attacks in general. Kha'Zix's Q's point-and-click, cho'gath's ult is point-and-click, Malzahar's ult as well, Rek'Sai's ult auto targets, etc. Their damage is very straightforward. While writing this, I saw a curious juxtaposition between Freljord and the Void. Both are incredibly hostile places, unforgiving and uncompromising against those who are too weak to stand up to it, but the champions that emerge from both areas have opposite gameplay designs. In my video on Freljord, I talked about how despite sharing a common theme of crowd control and resilience, every Freljordian goes about it in their own unique ways, representing their individual path of adapting to the harsh climate. Like how Braum's resilience stemmed from the desire to protect his comrades, while Sejuani's resilience was forged from a desire to fight and conquer. On the other hand, those from the Void, different as their origin stories and identities may be, get closer and closer to that simple-minded goal of destruction, which I speculate might be an indication of the Void's corruption, causing you to lose any sense of identity and personality and becoming this feral, mindless agent of doom that only wants to consume and destroy. Another aspect of the Void Champion's gameplay is their affinity for growth, simulating the growing expansion of the Void itself. While not present on everyone, several Void Champions are known to have scaling metrics beyond the normal scope of items and levels, many of which accelerate with every victim they take down. Cho'gath's Feast permanently grants him bonus health and increased size whenever he scores the killing blow with it. And if memory serves, thematically at one point they suggested he's so big he can swallow entire planets whole, or at least he has the potential to, and he converts anything he eats into new bodily growth, whatever it may be. bel'veth gains bonus attack speed that persists indefinitely whenever she scores a takedown on a champion, minion, or monster. Kha'zix and kha'zix are both able to evolve their abilities, giving them new, more powerful effects that amplify their combat strength exponentially for the remainder of the game. As to the rest of the cast, barring Rek'Sai, all of them notoriously become more and more dangerous as the game progresses, which also may be a metaphorical depiction of how Shurima and Freljord are doing everything they can to stop the Void from spreading. I might just be looking too deep into this, but it might not be a coincidence that the majority of Void champions are among the deadliest champions in the late game. The longer the enemy team takes to shut them down, the stronger they grow, eventually to where they become near impossible to stop. I think we can all attest to the helplessness of a fed Void champion single-handedly dominating the rest of the game. bel'veth with a couple of early kills, cho'gath with a ton of feast stacks, a fully evolved kha'zix, level 16 Kassadin, a fully evolved Kai'Sa, Kog'Maw past 25 minutes, Malzahar and his infuriating ultimate, Rek'Sai with full control over both her and your jungle, and vel'koz's incredible true damage and backline pressure. Point being, there's never a moment in a game where you can write these champions off. If you give them an inch, they will take a mile and then some. A ticking time bomb that's guaranteed to go off unless you shut them down and end the game quickly. It's not a matter of if, but when, with your only recourse being to beat them before it happens. And even if you do manage to stop them in the early game with how damage oriented their kits are even when behind, you still have to respect them lest they rip you to pieces. Kog'Maw could be 4 items while everyone is at 6, but if you let him sit still and auto attack you, he can and will destroy you. It's this subtle yet insidious fear of Void champions getting increasingly stronger and stronger as the game goes on, the moment bel'veth absorbs a Void Coral or the moment Kassadin reaches level 16. In a way, I think it's kind of poetic that Void champions are so frequently despised by players for one reason or another, as it parallels the same animosity and fear that all regions of Runeterra have against the Void. bel'veth is hated for being one of the most obnoxious predator junglers in the game, plus her incredibly overloaded pressure that enabled her to maintain well over a 50% win rate even though she was nerfed 5 times in a row. Everyone hates Malzahar for a stupid point-and-click range 2.5 second suppress being the originator of the QSS tax. People hate Kassadin for 1v9 in games at level 16 or even level 11 now. Kha'Zix is consistently one of the most popular junglers of all time and has had an extensive history of war crimes as a result of having a moveset that's perfect for solo queue. Kog'Maw's one of those champs who you don't really think or worry about all that much, but there's always that one game where the enemy Kog'Maw gets super fed and it feels like there's nothing you can do but just close your eyes and wait for death. Like kha'zix, Kai'Sa is consistently one of the most popular AD carries in the game and really the only marksman to surpass Ezreal in terms of pick rate. Maybe it has to do with the fact that most Void champions are in carry positions, jungle, mid, and ADC. In any case, when you give a champion access to that much damage, especially percent health or true damage, they're bound to escalate as time goes on. But to be honest, I actually think that's fitting for the Void faction. They're literally designed to attack, with no regard for anything other than killing the enemy team and doing it over and over again to get stronger. It makes perfect sense why some of them are solo queue demons. They're relentless in their offense, and in solo queue, where damage is dogma, of course they're gonna be some of the most popular champions in the game. Overall, there's not really much else to say about the Void from both a narrative and gameplay perspective. They have a very simple idea: expand and consume. Other regions not only have more champions but a ton of history, culture, events and whatnot, and though the Void has gotten some development, especially with the advent of bel'veth, at its core it's meant to be a primordial expanse of nothingness, just a bunch of freaks of nature that want to kill and eat stuff. But it's refreshingly simple. No politics, no human condition, no philosophy, just kill stuff. I do wish they build more on the lore soon though. They've been hinting at the Void finally reaching its endgame for a very long time, so who knows? Or maybe they might work on it for a different game like the League MMO or something. Anyways, that's all I have to say for today. Let me know your thoughts on the Void in the comments down below, and as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, I encourage you to leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my other Champion Faction episodes if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.